Hey,
And back, everybody.
land back, everybody. How you doing?
Good morning. Come on in. We're getting ready for the book trap.
Yes, it's a beautiful Sunday morning. You know, we are coming high off of the drama of the election. We're coming high off the drama of everything that's been going on. We're coming high off of working with the people, right? So that's where we at, and we just want you to come into the room, share when you come here, hashtag share as well. Let us know that you're sharing it.
Make sure to be sharing in like these Facebook groups to your mom. Send this out to your friends, your Tinder dates, whatever. Mm-hmm. This is some really good information that we're going to be going over today. We're going to be reading chapters 9 and 10 on revolutionary healthcare and revolutionary churches. So this is stuff that your aunties, your grandparents, whoever, this is some information that they're going to want to know. So make sure to start sharing this wherever you can.
Yes. I want to see people share it in like 10 groups, 20 groups. We all know you're in those groups, so you could just literally click share the groups and just click down the list. Go ahead and do that because we want to make sure we get as much people into this political education as possible. Mm-hmm. Like for real, like just like how Secretary General Anko was saying, like this is stuff that your aunties want to know. This is stuff that your mama want to know. This is hey, Lay, thank you for sharing.
Yes. Welcome. Also, y'all, if you got some like healthcare friends or, you know, some groups that you're in, if that's like your interest, share this info. Like a lot of people don't understand how revolutionary healthcare is going to work. We're going to go over that. We're going to go into it and all that. So keep sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, Isma. Good morning, Taliba.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Ina. Land back.
Good morning, Ina.
Hey, sharing. I love all the sharing.
I know. Okay, y'all, you sharing, living up to your word.
Mm-hmm. And if you got other Black Camera members that you don't see in here, they're like, hey, where you at? Bring them in. Make sure that they are here to get this political education as well. It's for our members and for everyone out here, for all kinds of people, to really understand really what revolutions have done in the past and what we are going to do now as Black Camera.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly, Alex. We're going to be really going into it. I'm super excited to be talking about all this.
Yeah. If you are watching on YouTube, like make sure you do comment too, because we on Facebook and we on YouTube. So, you know, don't be afraid to comment on the YouTube as well. Sound like my grandma, like on the YouTube.
On the YouTube. Go to the youtube.com.
Yes.
/
But yeah, let us know that you are in the room on Facebook and on YouTube. But before we get started, though, you know, we always like to make sure that we, you know, tell people about Hammer City. So we are building a city, y'all. Like we are building a city that is going to have no rent, and we know that people want somewhere there's no rent. People are getting evicted right now. People are losing their jobs, so there'll be no rent, no coronavirus, which is going up. Those numbers are going up. You know, you see that in your hometown. You know, you see that where you're from. Those numbers are going up. There's going to be no cops and only colonized people, right? No colonizers. It's going to be just for us, right? Because we need to make sure that we're being taken care of and that we are making sure that our people are safe as the rages of this virus and the rages of the fall of this economy hit our people the most. And so, we built a Hammer City. And so we want to make sure that we get a little bit of like support. How much are we at, Anko? How much money have we already got?
We're already at $40,000, and I'm telling y'all that's like the people's money, like $5, $10 consistently, that thousands of people across this country and around the world really want to see Hammer City created. We want to see Hammer created. Hammer City is an absolute necessity to advance anti-colonial struggle to a higher level. Like we need some land, we need our resources, we need dictatorship of how we're going to do stuff without interference from the colonizer or the state. So make sure to start donating to, build Hammer City on Cash App. We got a $100 goal today. So if we can get some donations going right now, if y'all want to go to Hammer City, I know we just had a recent Friday come up, so I know some of y'all got paid. So Hammer City, y'all.
Yeah, and then also, welcome. I saw here the Soulness. I'm Marco. Welcome and back. Good morning. And if you didn't get paid that past Friday, you can always pledge. You can always say, "Hey, I'm going to pay later when on that day I do get paid, or that day, that I do get something, after your Tinder date. Sometimes people be getting paid at the Tinder dates. As people, come in and like contribute to Hammer City, we trying to really really build for our people. And like Uncle was saying, all that money we raised, over 40K, has been of the people's resources, been of the people's money, because people are giving $2, $5, whatever they need to really make sure that Hammer City is being built and that it's available for all Connors people. It's not just for us, y'all. It's for literally all colonized people.
All colonized people. Yeah, it's not exclusive Black Hammer member thing. Like, the construction of Hammer City is for the people. It is to give back to the people, like returning the land back to indigenous people, having oversight over the entire city. Like, that is so crucial, important to do. All right, Chief I, thank you for the $10. Appreciate it. Okay, seeing also $10, so some of y'all did get paid, I'm seeing. Thank you.
Yeah. And show some love to the YouTube page. Yeah, if you're watching on there, if you're watching on Facebook, you can watch on YouTube today too. They ain't no problem with us, as long as you're there watching and interacting with us. That is fine as well. Thank you. If anyone else could match that $10, I'd be chilling to move on. If you got $10 to match,
10, 15, 20, 200, whatever y'all can, send over. If y'all got a colonizer in your life or something, ask them to donate. Just text them, "Hey, I need $5," and then send it over.
Yeah, we'll take reparations and donations. So whatever we're able to get, But if not, like the second, still put it in the comments. We'll put in the comments if you are giving to Hammer City, and let's just keep going so that we can get into this book. We're almost done with this book. It's crazy. It's like it's been a long one, but it's been a good one.
Hey, thank you, Sebastian.
Hey, 10. Ooh.
Oh, okay. $80. Thank you.
All right. So I think that means we're halfway there already, right?
Yeah, y'all. You got us there fast.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. See, our people will always provide, and our people will always be there to make sure that they're okay, right? Yeah, and that's what the young lords really are talking about in these chapters, right? They're talking really about being there for the people, in probably one of the most blunt ways, and literally in that meaning, making sure your people are alive, making sure that your people are healthy and alive. So, these two chapters that we all read together, they really do focus on revolutionary healthcare and really like making sure that we're taking care of our people, making sure that we are holding the institutions that claim to be taking care of our people accountable, and also making sure that we have spaces to take care of our people, right? Whether that is in the hospital or in the church, as like we talked about, learned about here. So let's get into our first Read That Back. As we all know, you should have your Read That Backs ready for later. For the hour, like you should have quotes that you have picked out from these chapters that you want to share with us. But here, this one is on page 191, I believe. So if you got your PDF, follow along. It's on the screen too. It says 80% of the hospital workers are Puerto Rican and Black, residents of the poorest communities. As Puerto Ricans and Black workers in emergency rooms and clinics, we see what oppression in the hospital is like. The inferior medical attention our neighbors are subjected to or obligated to accept. The worker also gets the same treatment. The enemy effectively divides the people, and the worker finds himself each day divided more and more into two categories. The worker that identifies with the hospital and defends the oppressive, abusive, and racist thieving doctors, and the worker that does not turn his back on his people and defends the patients and his coworkers above everything else. Yes. And I think for me, I like seeing this really like highlights the principle of unity, number 4 especially, right? That who's our true leadership, right? And it's us. And so when you realize like your true leadership is you, I think that's when you really take all your labor and your work and you put it in toward the people, right? Like a lot of times we take our labor and we put it into keeping and sustaining colonialism and like keep it into sustaining white power, and we don't really take that labor and energy and resources that we got and put it back to ourselves. You know, even if we think we're putting it back to ourselves, it just is really just back into them, right?
Right.
And
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that on that too is that often like colonized people haven't been allowed the opportunity to even imagine what a world would be like if we decided to work for ourselves and our people directly. Is that all of us are aware of, you know, the lot of ills that are plaguing our communities, but I don't think any of us or most of us haven't been given the opportunity or even been shown how to build out of that, how to construct something. And what does it mean to have like, you know, a hospital or a clinic that is truly working in your interest with your people. And like, I often think about like the Cuban healthcare system is that like your doctor knows you from birth to like the time that they pass away or that you pass away. And it's like a regular holistic like check-in, like how's your life? Like how's your family? And actually be engaged. Is that often like when we as colonized people go to like hospitals or clinics, it's so sterile and like unwelcoming. And, you know, like this entire institution, this entire building was built off, you know, our experimentation, like literally experimenting on our bodies. And I think that's something that, you know, colonized people can feel. But, you know, having like a revolutionary healthcare system where it's someone who's genuinely there to make sure that your health is okay at every step and every point in life without having to charge it. It's like, no, you deserve a good life. You deserve health and, you know, deserve to be able to, you know, live to your fullest. And so, yeah, I really also want to unite with what you were saying as well, Chief.
Yeah, no, it's true, because when you see, like, you know what you're saying, because when you see like healthcare systems that are built for people, right? That you know, that like rather than the money, I mean, they're built for people. You see that people are more willing to go to them, right? I think about how many colonized people, you know, who you know, either go to or even work in these like, healthcare institutions and don't want to go because they know how much it's literally killing our people, how much it's draining our people. And also how often we're turned away, you know? Yeah, mostly yes, right, for real. Because I think of like, even with like coronavirus, you know, like right now we have seen colonized people go to the hospital and got turned away, right? At the beginning of this pandemic, they're like, oh, like your symptoms aren't like, you know, are all the way there. Oh, you actually don't have a, you know, fever? Okay, you gotta go away if you got everything else. And because all our colonized people are going to these hospitals and being turned away. And we see like the workers, like there was like the African sister who I forgot what city they were in, who was talking about just like how many beds are being filled right now again, and just like the horrors that you're seeing in the hospital. Like these workers see it too, and these workers are seeing their own people turned away, not because they want to turn them away necessarily, but because the hospital is telling them that this is who we take care of and who we don't take care of.
Exactly.
Yeah, and who they don't take care of is colonized people.
Yeah, here in the state that so-called state that I'm currently living in is that the hospitals are nearly overwhelmed, and they have the governor has announced that they're starting to prioritize care, which obviously translates into wealthy colonizers getting like the attention of care and everyone else being denied. And Black Hammer just posted a story about a 5-year-old girl who was taken to the emergency room, throwing up, had coronavirus, and then the colonizer doctor and like the entire colonizer healthcare system denied this child care and left and then died that same day. And like this is a, you know, situation that happens hundreds and hundreds of times each day and each week and each month. And as this virus, you know, gets worse and worse, this is the kind of, you know, response that we expect to see from the colonizer state, and why it's so important to look at the young lords and see how they built up their own revolutionary healthcare system and started taking care of their people directly, is that it's very evident at this point in time that the state is just, they're going to let us die. And that's a reality colonized and African people have to sit with and recognize we can take power into our own hands. I can do any of this stuff. Like, we all know our doctor comes in 5 minutes, looks at you and says, sorry, I can't do anything. I could do that too, but I could do it for my people and make sure that my people are actually taken care of. That, you know, like, nah, we're going to take care of our own people here.
Yes, no, for real. Yeah, like they don't prescribe us properly because they prefer us to have a higher pain tolerance, right? Like all these assumptions, right, about colonized people, especially colonized women, right? And that they're constantly saying, oh, like, yeah, what you're feeling is not what you're feeling, right? They always want to like say it like that. And they want to say that, oh yeah, what you have is not this, so we're gonna give you this medicine for this. And we have to read that back that'll show really an example of that, especially around like how this house system treats colonized women especially. But yeah, it's that we don't really get anything that we really need from these institutions, right? The same neglect they face in El Barrio to this day, right? Like, you know, if you're living in the hood, if you're living in anywhere where colonized people are, the poor working class people are, you know, you see like all the dialysis centers, you know, you see all the small clinics that like you still got to pay a lot of money for, even though you're getting, like Uncle said, 5 minutes of care. Right, they charge you $300, right? It's the same stuff. And I think one thing the young lords realize is that, well, you have all these colonized workers in these hospitals who like see this every day. Like they're seeing what this healthcare system does to other colonized people, and like they are radicalized by that, right? They also need to be organized, right? So they're radicalized by their experience, seeing what's happening to their own people. And so one thing the Young Lords did was that they did like the Health Revolutionary Unity movement, which was just not necessarily organizing people directly to become Young Lords, but at least organizing the colonized nurses and like staff members who really are the backbone of a hospital. Without these people, the hospital wouldn't run. Right? You just couldn't have 10 doctors up in the hospital and the hospital runs. It's the colonized people who make it run, right? Like we all, you know, a lot of us in our families probably got that one nurse, got that one medical professional somehow working, you know, like who like does blood work, something, right? And I think, you know, they really are the backbone, right? It wouldn't run without colonized people. And so, like, the Young Lords really got these nurses and stuff together to say, hey, like, you know, let us know about what's going on in the hospitals. Like, we're going to organize you at least to speak up for yourself within your workplace. But then what they did was that they started recruiting those nurses into the organization. Like, one of the highest ranking members was Gloria, I forgot her last name, I think it was Rodriguez. Gloria, who started off as part of this Health Revolutionary Unity movement, and like was just like a nurse who was like seeing everything that was happening like in her workplace. And was like, I can't do this like this is crazy. And then she like was recruited and became cadre of this organization, right? So I think it's important to, you know, remember that, you know, we're gonna see all of our colonized brothers and sisters in these places where they're seeing these horrors, and that like we should organize them into Black Hammer. We should organize them into our own organization, so that they can do the work that they want to do to really help their people.
Right, exactly. I'd also say too is that often colonized people are forced to commit the work of the state in order for their own livelihood. And the only reason why that's the case is there's no revolutionary force, no organization that is to say, no, this is the alternative. I often think about like the nurses and practitioners that are working in the detention centers and are whistleblowing like what's going on down at these detention centers, that children are being given like psychological medication to sedate them so they're not sure what's happening. People are getting forced hysterectomies and sterilization. And like this is a position of like, well, the colonized person is stuck or, you know, put into this position that they have to carry out the will of the state when there's no other way presented to show them like, nah, leave all that, come join so we can actually take care of our own people within our own community, in our community. Like I'm talking like care within your home, care within like a park, care on the street, somewhere where you can go directly, where it's not far and, you know, lofty, where you have to travel several miles just to go see a healthcare provider to tell you that they can't do anything for you. Is that we need to bring that care back home directly.
Yes, that's actually one thing the Young Lords did that I thought was really cool. They essentially had like block healthcare captains. Like for a block, there was someone who made sure that the health of the people on that block were taken care of. And like imagine that, like that's what the people have the capacity to do. We have the capacity to check block by block to see if people are healthy, right? Whereas a hospital only has the capacity to check if a few thousand people in a giant city like New York or Chicago are healthy every day, right? Like it's like they had to check people block by block because they knew that the people really needed that people really needed that direct healthcare because colonialism kills us. Colonialism is killing us. So they knew the stakes, and like it really like Cuba doctors live in the community, right? Like homeless is like Uncle was saying, like knowing you from birth to death, like like they are really making sure that you are taking care of every moment of your life. That sounds like a great life. I don't be a colonized person who would reject that.
Exactly. Also, I just want to say too, like on the point of like under revolutionary healthcare, we can make sure people are taken care of by house per house, making sure all illness or ills or whatever are taken care of by house. But with the hospital and current like capitalist colonial like healthcare system, you'll only have like a few thousand people of care at any given time. And you have to go there. And there's so many barriers of actually physically going to a hospital, whether it's far away, transportation, it's too expensive, medical racism, and like people being killed by going to the doctors, is that this is an amazing alternative to take care of all of that. And really what, all revolutionaries and what Black Hammer is striving to do and currently building.
Yeah, for real. I think that actually that connects to our next read that back actually, and like really about what we're building and what we're trying to like get control of, right? And like and why. And so our next read that back, I believe, is on page 201. So if you go on 201, it begins with middle school. Uncle, you want to go into it?
Yes. All right. I'm back, y'all. We must begin to ask questions about all things that affect the lives of Puerto Rican and Black people. Who can better determine what's best for ourselves than us? If this is the richest country in the world, why is it that this country is 13th in the world for healthcare? Why is it that we have to live in housing that is fit for animals? Why do we have to be subjected to inferior school system? Why is it that jails are filled with Puerto Rican and Black people? Is it that we are criminal people? Or is it the conditions that create the problems? We must begin to realize that we live in a system that does not concern itself with the lives of the majority of our people who are poor, but rather only cares about how it can obtain more wealth for a few money-hungry businessmen. This country can only exist by exploiting and killing other people, mostly third world people, like it's doing in Vietnam, Puerto Rico, and all other colonies inside and outside the United States. So this paragraph, this section, and really why I wanted to highlight it, is it to me points to why we need self-determination over our lives, land, labor, and resources. Is that oftentimes like our problems that have been installed into our communities are also moralized. Like that specific part, are we just a criminal people? That is a either conscious or subconscious understanding of ourselves that the colonizer has given to us. That I'm poor because I am just a naturally criminal person. Or, like just that weird like colonizer stuff that has been convinced to us on why we're living in the conditions that we do. But when we take it back, when we do have ownership over our resources, when we do have ownership over our land, this kind of criminal behavior isn't necessarily apparent. Is that I don't know one colonized person that you talk to, and if you said, oh, if you got $1 million, what'd you do? They always say, I'd help my mom, I'd help my family, I'd help my neighborhood. That is the direction we almost always go. But we never have those resources. We never have dictatorship over that kind of stuff. And so this particular paragraph, I think, highlights the importance of getting our own things, like our own healthcare buses, our own clinics, our own education systems, physically, and implementing that within the community. Is that these kinds of quote unquote criminal behaviors are a response to a lack of resources, a lack of community care, a lack of love even. And that's, completely opposite to what revolutionary everything can provide. And so that's, I really like to highlight that particular paragraph.
Yeah, and the way that we practice love and the way we practice care for ourselves and for our people is practicing that self-determination, that practicing that control over our own things, over our lives and our resources. When we practice that, we're practicing love for our people and of this earth, right? We're practicing love of the resources that this earth provides us and not using it to exploit other people. We're not using it to hurt other people. We're using it just to make sure that we are surviving and we are okay and that we can live in a comfortable way. And I think, thank you for the money, Shagun.
Okay.
Yeah, and one way I think the one way the young lords practiced this, like that control, was the tuberculosis truck. So if you saw like the movie Trap, you saw like some clips of it how it went down. But here they really talk about how the young lords took over that tuberculosis truck, right? Like they're saying the city could only test like 20 people a day. Like they would bring the truck into a barrio and they would like not do anything, right? Like it's just like how hospitals always be doing. They would just be bringing the truck, wouldn't test nobody. And tuberculosis is like, for the most part, is a disease that is pretty well handled by the 1970s for most white people. White people aren't catching tuberculosis because it's one of those older diseases. But at the same time, because we don't treat colonized people the same way, those numbers are still going up in the colonized communities, like the Puerto Rican community there. And so they're like, we need to test these people. So they went and asked for this TB truck. And like, nah, we can't just give you this truck. So what did the young lords do? They liberated the truck, right? They're like, okay, you're not using this TB truck. We're going to take this TB truck and test our own people. And they were testing 1,000 people. They were testing hundreds more people than the city was. And they were doing the chest x-rays for the people. And like, did all these people go straight up to medical school and say, I know how to do a TB test? No, right? But they learned the skills. We can all learn skills. Hey, yeah, they didn't like go to all these medical schools. They don't have a bunch of degrees, but they learned skills. All kinds of people have this amazing skill set. We know how to do so much. We knew how to do so much before they put up universities. We knew how to do so much and take care of our people before they had books written out on it, right? We had these practices to take care of ourselves. How have we survived so long, right? So like we can have our own institutions. We can have our own practices and we can have our own skills to provide for us. And like that TB truck, I love it because they saw something that wasn't being used, asked for it, were denied, and we're like, okay, well, we're going to use it. It's it's not being used.
Like, no question. Yeah, and I also want to go off on what you were saying about skills. And like, you don't need a degree, you don't need like heavy study to be doing a lot of these things. You just need some time to train on it. Like collective brilliance is a lot more powerful than an individual. And like, that's what the young lords really tapped into, is collective brilliance of studying. Oh, this didn't work out this way, so let's retry, and actually experiment and learn through that way. And I think like the Hammer City Research Committee and the entire like campaigns office is testament to that, is that these are a whole bunch of colonized people without degrees, without experience, and they're building entire like water systems, healthcare systems, power systems, and like taking on the construction themselves, like architecture and all of this stuff, all based on just a pure passion and knowledge that we need to have our land back. And that's really where we should all be drawing from, is the collective power from our community, is that there really isn't anything that can stop us once we get those people unified. And I think that's so present with our project for Hammer City, is that we know exactly why we're doing this and how we're going to get there. And it's been moving through every single obstacle with ease, without any problems, because we have that collective brilliance. And I think the young lords really demonstrate like what can be done. It's like the city with degrees, with the equipment, with the budget, we're only able to test 10 people a day. Nah. And then all of a sudden you take it to collective brilliance and then you get thousands a day. Yeah. And each individual house is taken care of. That is an enormous improvement that no one can deny. That collective brilliance and collective power will always overtake an individual with some degree. Just saying.
Yes. No, exactly. Like Black Hammer is a testament to this because we are building things. We are building things with the passion to learn the skills, and with people who already come in with skills. Like if you do have like major architecture skills already, if you already got major healthcare skills already, if you do got that medical degree, go ahead and use it for people, right? Join Black Hammer, blackhammer.org/join. Use it for your people. Use it to help build for your people, so that we don't have to go to the hospital. So we don't have to like feel ashamed of going to hospitals because we feel like they're going to turn us away, right? I think like one thing I want to connect back to something you said earlier, Anko, was like that, like that criminal like feeling sometimes, right? That we think sometimes comes from us, and like that sometimes that feeling of like shame and unworthiness like translates into how we treat ourselves health wise. Right, and how we feel like, well, I don't deserve to like not have diabetes. Everyone in my life has diabetes. Why should I be any different? Why should the health that I see in my community not also impact me? And we like accept the conditions so much that are put onto us, right? And thinking that that's how it's supposed to be, thinking that's how we're supposed to live, or thinking that is what's meant for us as colonized people. But actually, what's meant for you is life. What's meant for you is liberation. What's meant for you is to have your land back. And so to get those things that are meant for you and that you deserve, you have to let go of what the colonizer is telling you about how you should take care of yourself. And really understanding that, you can take care of yourself by helping your people take care of you, right? You don't have to work in those hospitals, right? You don't have to work for them. Put your labor into your own self. Put your labor into your own people.
Exactly.
And your resources too.
Yeah, and also too, like just the colonizer medical system like puts these lies within our community that like certain populations are susceptible to a certain thing, and that's like you were saying, that's just how things are. Like you have a family history of diabetes, and like that's just the trajectory you have to follow. Not knowing that there is so much like construction to install certain kind of diseases within our community, whether that be like hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, suicide even, are all like installed within our communities. Like it's a foreign thing for us to be dealing with at this scale. And like, because it was organized to be this way from the colonizer, we have to organize against it to get out of it. In every single circumstance, we have to out-organize our oppressor. And that even means in healthcare systems, we have to out-organize that.
Yes, and they are really well organized and well resourced. And so that's why we are asking for resources for Hammer City, right? That's why we are asking for that, for that resources, because they really be putting all that into their systems. They are very well organized and very well resourced because they've stolen all those resources. And so that's why we're asking right now, to donate, pay reparations. If you are watching and you are colonized, if you're white, pay reparations to our Cash App, Venmo, Build Hammer City, or GoFundMe.com/Build Hammer City. Let us know in the comments if you are paying donations or paying reparations. I know we got some people from our colonizer class who watch the book trap too. So really pay your reparations, pay donations to build for us, because that's the thing. Like we're seeing how the young lords took their own skills and took their own resources to help build for their people. So we all have to do the same, right? Every single resource you contribute, every single dollar you contribute is a blow to white power, because you are giving it to an organization that is working for you to dismantle it, right?
Exactly. Yes, and also, y'all, we at $70. We at $100 goal, so just need 30 more. Start handing those reparations over. I saw a few white people commenting. Please.
$5 from Peter Soul.
Okay, thank you, Peter Soul. We up to 75, y'all. Can I get another 5? Can we match another 5, please? 10, 20, something.
So we could have 5 people give $5. We could have a couple people give $10. Hey, back L. Martin Johnson Pratt. Hashtag book trap is truth. I love that.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, and y'all, like Hammer City too. Okay, thank you, Chief Ali, for another 5. We almost to our goal today. But yeah, also Hey, thank you, Chief Ina. All right, y'all, keep them coming. Keep it coming. Hammer City is again like also a place for us to start dreaming about even more. Is that how do we then like replicate the same kind of structures into our own communities? And that this is like a good time for us to actually dream and make it into reality. Is that the reality that we're talking about? Acquiring land, starting construction, and building, actually building from the foundation of decolonization and seeing everything that grows out of it. I personally dream about it every day. And when we are donating to this, when we do get reparations for this, it is making sure that that comes to life, that we don't have to keep suffering like this anymore. Like there is a light, there is hope. And I have never felt so optimistic about everything because of Hammer City, because of Black Hammer organization, that we got to make this reality. And so, yeah, land back.
For real, no, we have to make a reality because the horrors of colonialism too. Like we're seeing it. You see how colonialism is ravaging your communities in the form of coronavirus, right? Like we are regular colonized people, poor working people. It's affected our lives. It's affected the lives of the people we love. We have lost people, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like we just are trying to build this just because we want something. No, we want solutions because we see how it hurts and ravages our communities. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we, really put our resources and labor into something else that's just not what we always think it should be, meaning that we put our resources into something that is not just our jobs, mm-hmm. not just our schoolwork. Because right. I know there'll be a lot of students who are like, I got my schoolwork, I got my tests, my exams. Like you're putting a lot of labor into keeping white power up. Mm-hmm. You can use some of that labor to put back into your people. Always right. Think about every decision you make and like ask yourself, is this decision I'm making, is it furthering colonialism or is it breaking down colonialism? Just ask yourself that question when you do any act, whether it comes to cooking the meal you're cooking, whether it comes to visiting the hospital you're visiting, whether it comes down to what you're doing at your job, right? Just always ask yourself that and see how much labor and resources you are putting into one thing versus the other and how you can make it go the right way.
Right. Just to speak to the students, you can't decolonize a university, but you can decolonize the land. So make sure to also put your resources there as well. And all those skills that you're learning on university or in campus, bring them to your community. It is absolutely useless to have all of this knowledge just so you can get your job at Raytheon making missiles. Like, don't do that. We got to change how we're giving our skills back to our community. Getting some city job, working as an engineer that they told you you're going to help poor people, you're not. You're not. What will, though, is if you join the Hammer City research team mm-hmm. and give those skills over to the people and teach other people what you know so you can replicate the same kind of knowledge that you have. All colonized people should have access to this knowledge. And if you feel that way as well, should join the research committee for the Hammer City team. Is that we need more and more people to make this project develop more and more.
Yes, exactly. And so make sure you're getting this shared. Share again. This is another sharing moment. Hashtag shared when you shared it again. Like I say, share more than once. There's no problem with sharing more than once. Share this video so that we get people who can join the research team, so that people can hear about this project, so that people can hear about our organization. And make sure that you are putting it into people's DMs too. Let people know that directly in your life about this. And so, because we want to help colonized people, and I think this next Read That Bag really gets to kind of the passion that young Lords had about why they wanted to help people. There was one Puerto Rican sister that they had named Carmen Rodriguez that they really saw as like an example of what this colonial healthcare system does to our people. And it's on page 198. We're going a little bit backwards, a couple pages backwards from the last quote, y'all. Actually, no, it's actually a different page. All right. So, so here it says, already, the first abortion death has occurred at Lincoln Hospital, butcher shop of the South Bronx. Carmen Rodriguez, 31, went to Lincoln seeking an abortion. She suffered from many of the diseases that afflict all oppressed people. She was at one time addicted to drugs. She suffered from asthma, anemia, and a severe heart condition. With all these health problems, she went to the operating room without her medical history chart ever being checked. She was injected with a medication for asthma. However, the type of medication used is the worst possible for a patient with a heart condition. But how would they know? They never bothered to check her chart. The punk that was treating her was a student. Lincoln is affiliated with Einstein Medical School, which assigns inexperienced students to learn medicine by practicing on our people. He continued to give her this medication until finally her heart stopped. Then they proceeded to open her chest up, but by then it was too late. Her brain had been damaged. Carmen's brain stopped functioning on July 17th. Although she was dead, the hospital tried covering it up until July 20th, when her heart muscle stopped beating. Doctors had recently decided that death occurs when the brain stops. And the next part of that sentence, this death was no accident. Carmen died because America is killing our people. Carmen was forced to go for an abortion because under this capitalist system, that which is our right, food, clothing, and shelter, is kept from us. Instead, we become the drug addicts, the prostitutes, the ill, and the hungry. What choice does a sister have when she is pregnant, thinking of providing for her child, right? Good. I'm going to stop it there. Colonialism has ravaged our lives in multiple ways, right? We see Carmen right here, who it wasn't that she just died from the medicine that was incorrectly put into her, right? What were all the conditions she had? She had asthma, right? Coming from all the pollution and the crowded living that is done in like big cities, right? Colonialism has put her people into these crowded, dirty, polluted places, right? And so she has asthma. She's anemia, right? She is missing all the nutrients she needs because she's in a place where she's not able to get all the actual foods that she needs to be completely nourished and to be completely nutritionally balanced. So she got anemia. She's missing that iron. I don't know how many family members I got who got anemia. Jesus Christ, you know? She was she used to be an addict, right? Like all the drugs pushed into our communities because of colonialism. She also had a heart problem because of all of this, right? Like it's colonialism came into her life so many ways, and then yet again, when she was pregnant and said, "No, what? I don't think I can take care of this child." Of course, colonialism came to try to kill her one more time, right? That time, it did kill her. Right. I think that's one thing we have to remember is that when we are facing colonialism, that it's trying to kill us multiple times. You already are a survivor. All of us colony people have already survivors. Technically, colonialism tried to kill us many times, a long time ago throughout your life. It might be trying to kill you right now. And so you all are survivors. But until colonialism stops, it will get us. That's the thing. Carmen was surviving that whole time. She was surviving every blow that colonialism was giving her. But then that last time where you had an inexperienced student, which is probably a white student, right, who said, "Hey, we're gonna practice I have to practice giving vaccinations and shots. So I'm gonna use your body," which is again the story of colonialism and colonized people in terms of healthcare for a long time. After that, that's what got her. And I think it's just so important to see how the young lords that's why they were really rallying around this, because they were like seeing this is a prime example of one of our poor working class sisters. Colonialism was ravaging her life, and then it got her, and we can't let it keep getting our people. They said this is the last straw. This is a last straw for us. We have to take control of our healthcare. Because it's just so clear that their healthcare system is not for us as people. It's for them as profit, for them as practice.
No.
Yeah.
And I also want to say too is that a lot of the ways colonialism tries to kill us, whether it be through the air, through the water, in a hospital directly, or just like an overt white supremacist, it all relies on us acting as an individual and being isolated and alone. Is that when we go into hospitals as colonized people, bring someone with you. Don't go alone. Is that these kinds of things can slip up like that. Not even slip up. I mean, maliciously happen with intent to experiment on you. Is that having your friend there who is aware of your medical conditions and is aware to be like, no, don't do that. But even beyond all of that, having our own healthcare system organized by our own people, we don't have to go through all of these kinds of things. And even with the polluting of the air, is that if you organize as a community, you can tackle that problem directly. But again, it relies on us acting as individual to have us get killed out slowly. Just want to read what Chief Seen said. This colonial healthcare system is built on suffering of colonized women. Medical students used to do hysterectomies on working class African women without their knowledge for students to learn, and for hospitals to bill Medicaid to get that money. They use colonized people's body to experience and experiment and make money. And that's still true today, is that I just got an ad on Instagram because my algorithm knows that I'm a poor colonized person to sign up for some medical experimentation for some crazy drugs all the time. And I'm assuming that's a kind of ad that targets colonized people, poor colonized people specifically, because they know the situations that we're in. They know that times are getting desperate. So they have us sign up for like these medical experimentations for God knows what's going to happen. And just because we signed like a consent form now that they're saying it's not wrong anymore, even though like it's a specific thing targeting our communities. So again, like really the reverse of all of this is to organize your community. Get organized and bring these things to light so we don't have to keep going through all these kinds of horrific traumas.
Yeah, and one way Black Hammer is doing that, is around coronavirus, right? Like we know that the way that coronavirus was going to play out in our communities was going to be against us, right? We knew that, and so what we did was we organized to get people masks, right? We organized people to get PPE. We organized people to get herbs, to get correct, like ginger, garlic, all those things that our people have always used to be healthy, right? So that we can make sure that our people were taken care of. We organized around it. We didn't just go to our own family and just say, hey, just do this and left it at that. No, we wanted to make sure that everyone was okay. And like, yeah, people are gonna start getting those COVID vaccine ads, right? And we're seeing like this vaccine go out. And we know colonized people know our history. We know our history of how they experiment us. We know their history of the Tuskegee syphilis experiments. We know that birth control was built off the sterilization of indigenous Puerto Rican women, right? We know that like all these healthcare systems were built off of experimenting on us. So we know our people we know that. So we ain't running to these vaccine trials, but because the colonialism makes us so desperate and we need resources, as individuals, we try to go and do things like that. And what I would say, and what as an organization we're going to say is like, no, you can't act as an individual. You have to act as an organized body. So if you need resources, if you need healthcare, organize around that, right? And join an organization like Black Hammer so that we can make sure that you're okay and not acting on your own to try to figure out your life. Because what happens when you try to act on your own is that the system gets you, that colonialism can get you. Because there's no one there to protect you. We know that, people.
Exactly. And like, just we're not outnumbered. We're just out organized. And like, that's the one key, is to organize people to overturn this contradiction. And like Chief Oju has said, like joining Black Hammer, we can help your community organize itself to make sure that they take back that power. Signing up gives you that ability to take back that power. We provide you with all the tools, all the knowledge, and like the love and passion to go out there and take care of your people. Is that a lot of colonized people I know do love and care about their people. It's just now trying to get all that love and caring into organized directions so things can move forward. And, join Black Hammer, and Black Hammer is doing that.
Yes. I do want to give a couple props. I saw some reparations come in from a couple people, so thank you for those reparations for Hammer City. Yeah, so I know I saw it. All right. So thank you for your reparations. And for okay, yeah. So, all right, yes. Keep giving them back, right? Keep giving them back to us. All right. Yeah. So I think. We talked a lot about like healthcare, right? We talked a lot about making sure that our community is being taken care of through having control of the institutions and through the other resources that help us, like the TB truck. And another thing that the Young Lords are doing was they wanted to at least have space to do it, right? We need lots of kinds of resources to help our people, right? And that includes space. And one thing that they wanted to do was they took the example of the Chicago original Young Lords and said, hey, we're going to take over a church, right? We need a space to do our work. And that's what the other chapter we read was about, right? It was about making sure that the people use a resource that wasn't being used. They saw this church in El Barrio, I think it was on 111th and Lex, and they said it wasn't being used 6 days of the week. It was like used for Sunday services and literally stood empty for the rest of the week. So they said, yeah, we're not outnumbered, we are out organized. Yes. So I'd just like to reiterate that. Yeah, like that someone called it out. They had this church, wasn't being used most of the week. So they went to the pastor, the reverend, and said, hey, can we use this space to do our free breakfast program for kids? And can we use this space to give out clothes, right? And to do some of our other programming and teaching out of here. And they're like, no. All they just said was no. No explanation. They just said no. And so, again, just like the TB church, we're like, okay, well, we got to take over this church now. Like, they're like, that's what we got to do.
What else can we do?
And so, they, of course, there was like, as you read, like there was like some drama around like the pigs were like seeing them and like infiltrated a mass once and like beat them up one time during a mass when they all came in just to be part of mass because they're being with their people, right? And I think this last read that back before we get into your read that backs, everybody else, I think really gets into why, when the Young Lords were in this church, they weren't there to like undo the church. They were just there to have a space to do their work. And so this read that back is on page 209, y'all. And it says, we hold no malice towards the parishioners of this church. All of us young Puerto Ricans have grown up with the same kinds of attitudes from our mothers and fathers, the same racism, the same narrow-mindedness, the same lack of perspective in terms of what's happening outside. We've all grown up with this ritual. I myself grew up in a Pentecostal church. You talk about strictness, you ain't seen strictness till you grew up in a Pentecostal church. So that's not unusual for us it's not that unusual for us to go through this. What is unusual is the fact that they're going to turn their back on babies. They're going to turn their back on young people who are saying to them, yes, we agree, you are our mothers and fathers. Yes, we want to work in cooperation with you. We do not want to take over this institution. It would be ridiculous for us to talk at this point about taking over this institution. That's jive. Understand that. We're only asking for space. I'll stop it there. That was the end of that quote right there for me. But like, yeah, I think like this is Felipe Luciano who like gave a speech after he wanted to give a speech during the sermon, but then they said like they said no, and then he was like sat back down, and then he tried again and he sat back down, and then everyone left the church, and whoever was left, he just talked to them. Right? He's like, okay, who's here? I'm gonna talk now. I think it's like that's something important to underscore is that like I think it goes with our second principle of unity, especially. That we believe all kinds of people are equal, and that's regardless of like religion too, right? It's because we, it's the contradiction isn't that like you are in this like religious institution that you are like participating in this, right? The contradiction is colonialism. So that's why they're like, hey, mom and dad, yeah, you might be religious, but that's okay. I don't care. It's just that we want to use space to give our people free breakfast. We want to use our space to give people clothing, and I think that's just important for us to understand that when we are, talking to our people on the street, especially on Sundays, I hate Sunday for the Christian people, that it's important to realize that we can bring anyone to revolution regardless of how they worship, what they do, as long as they are working to get people's land back and working to end colonialism.
Exactly. Also, too, like I think it's really good to highlight the fact that they're just wanting space, like specifically. It's not to take over the institution. It's not to attack religion. It's just that y'all's building is empty 6 out of 7 days of the week. And I am asking if I can use this building to help serve our people, which is in line with, the service of the church directly. And I think it's also like important for colonized revolutionaries to engage with religious institutions like this in this exact way of forming community like relationships of like, hey, we take over this building for like 6 out of the 7 days to serve our people, to give healthcare, to provide food, to provide clothes. And then, like on Sunday, like we're also going to be here and attend. And that is really being with the people. That is getting to know the community. And I'd also like, ask comrades here too, like watching, engage at your church or go to church just to get to know people and understand your community, is that for colonized people, spirituality is very, very, very important. It plays a central role in all of our lives. And so we can't be out here attacking that. That is not what we're attacking. We know colonialism is the root of the problem. It doesn't matter what religion. It's colonialism, always at the root that we have to be going after. And when we are in these religious spaces, we also have to bring that, is that it's colonialism that's like this. This is how we can transform things and like provide, a material understanding of the world.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, and it's just important, like you said, like this is a big part of our people's lives, right? And so we have to engage our people on every level of their life, right? We have to talk about what's important to them. We have to make sure that we are in their lives, because we want them to be in our revolution, right? Mm-hmm. So be in their life if you want them to be in your revolution. So yeah, so because it's our revolution is the realization you want them to come to, right? Mm-hmm. And so yeah, like I think the young lords, they really understood that, and that I think it's important, especially as like indigenous people who like have a lot of like religion put on their on their indigenous land by Europe, and so it's just important that we see that they recognize that and that they practice based off of that and they acted based off of that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good tactic for COVID. Yeah. I don't think most churches are open yet.
Oh right yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, don't be. Yeah, exactly. That's a.
Oh wait, Steve just said churches are reopen. Okay, well, stand outside the church and hand out masks and start talking to folks about wearing these inside.
And yes, yeah, they have Zoom churches. That I've seen plenty of people give services like live right now. I see people do like the car church, like where they have like people in their cars and the sermons being done like in front.
Yep.
So they got things going on, but we meet our people where they at in a safe COVID way, COVID productive way. Because like we talked about in general today, the healthcare and for us these numbers are going up. We have to recognize that there's places that are going to start closing again. So as the COVID gets I'm talking about my grandma again. As the COVID gets us, you want to make sure that you're organizing people and that you are, getting resources from Black Hammer and from other organizations, but Black Hammer, right? Where we are providing masks and PPE to people around the world, over 100,000 pieces. And so, let's get into the read that backs from our people. If you got a read that back, if you got a quote that you are looking at that you want to share with us, let's see that. I want to see your read that backs. If you have one from either chapter, from the healthcare chapter, this is my church. Oh yeah, hey, welcome. Yeah, someone the L. Martin said #booktrap is truth. We're bringing the truth, we're bringing the gospel.
That's we're bringing church to Sunday.
Yes. But give us your read that backs. What is a quote that stuck out to you in either chapter 9 or 10? We want to hear from you to see like something that you want to even struggle with, talk about, whatever it is. We want to see that read that back. And while you're getting that together, just to let you know, we have surpassed our goal today. So I want to salute all of y'all who come into the book trap and are making sure that Hammer City is being built and that we get the resources that we need. Yeah, we hit 140. So hey,
I know. Thank y'all for sending donations and those reparations over. Each time y'all do this, we get closer and closer to build Hammer City. But yeah, y'all start sending in your read that backs. We want to take a look and see what y'all were thinking about the book.
Mm-hmm. And you can put it as a comment in the Facebook or put it as a comment in YouTube. Mm-hmm. And like if you are new to watching this and you want to have the book to read, we have our Black Hammer library at blackhammer.org. You go into the education tab and you see our virtual library, and there you can get the readings and PDFs for stuff that we're reading here in the book chat. And for this book, we're gonna have one more session, so you can still get access to this book and read along with us with the new people watching today. Because we did have at least one person who was new, so that was good.
Yeah. Once y'all join in with us, start reading the book. It's so much easier to do it with like a group of people. And then having like this time to actually like review what you're reading. I've been watching several book traps now, basically since I joined, and I feel like I've been able to actually accomplish and finish so many books that I would have never been able to otherwise. Because, you know, like you read like, I don't know, a couple chapters and then you're like, I'm gonna get back to this, and then just never do. But this is not the case. This is very engaging and, you know, like an experience to hear what so many other people think, not just in your state or locally, but across the world, to understand like the piece of information that you're reading. It's good to have, you know, tons of different perspectives on what you're reading and, you know, really dive into it.
Exactly. Yeah. And the book trap keeps us disciplined with reading, right? Sometimes like you're saying it's how you read that couple chapters and you put it to the side. Well, like, you know, if you were told, hey, this is what you're gonna read this week, this is what you're gonna read this week, it keeps you disciplined. It helps you making sure that you're staying on top of this like revolutionary literature. This is stuff that we're learning from. It's not we don't read it for fun, right? We read it to learn from it. We are, you know, dialectical materialists, right? So we're trying to learn. So let's see.
Ali, come through.
It says, we must begin to realize that we live in a system that does not concern itself with the lives of the majority of people who are. Oh, this was one of ours, Ali. But that's good. I'm glad that you recognized it.
Exactly.
I love that you recognized it. No, like loving the internationalism, right? So, and connecting to other struggles. That's true. We didn't talk about that part. So I'm glad you brought that back up, Ali, because, you know, like the young lords here connected in the end to like Vietnam. They connected to the Borican, Puerto Rico, and all of the colonized peoples and nations inside and outside the United States. So also they recognize that colonialism really is across the board, all of us. And yeah, no, I do appreciate that they really get down to you know, other colonized nations, and that it's really all of our problem.
Right, and the conditions of, you know, ourselves and like what we're going through are not kind of like, they are exactly like someone who looks exactly like you. Is that there's been an enormous effort from the colonizer to remove us, separated from our people, to be othered, that we're like an other thing, that we're not part of the nation that we were removed from. And again, that's why it's so important to always bring it back and tie it in internationally, is that we are all under one struggle, under and against colonialism. And when we find ways to unify ourselves, it only makes us stronger. Is then we're building alliances with hundreds of millions of people across the world. And again, like this is something Black Hammer has taken specific effort to do, is to tie an international question into this, to make America not the center of the world, to bring in an international perspective. And it's why we've been successful in building chapters in Nigeria, in Brazil, in Spain, in Puerto Rico, in the Philippines, and many more countries. Is it's because we have always understood revolutionary knowledge as an international thing. And we always want to share whatever we produce internationally, so we can all understand we're into it, you know, together.
Yes. No, you're not with that, Uncle. Yes, because I think we that's something that I appreciate about Black Hammer, is that it's intentionally bringing people from around the world together, not to tokenize people from around the world, right? It's intentionally bringing people together from around the world, because the problem of colonialism is global, right? So that intention really shows that we care about our people no matter where they're at, right? Exactly. And not caring about our people because they're in the Valley of the Beast or wherever or if they're, you know, just because they're in the same location as us. That's also our second principle. You know, we're all equal regardless of the location as well.
Right.
So yeah,
exactly.
It's in our principle and in our practice. We got another read that back, y'all. I'm like trying to see if it's possible that, you know, we might have some on YouTube as well. But I want to at least see one more read that back. I want to get at least one more quote from our people here. What's something that's like stuck out to you? What's something that you want to hear more about? You know, I every time I pick out and read that back, it's not just because I want to like say, oh, this is what I know about it. I want to hear what someone else has to say about it. Okay, so this
thank you, good soul.
Okay, 203.
All right. Their drug addiction program is a program that will take you off drugs and return the addict to God. Page 203. I was wondering if y'all could lay out some strategies I'm recruiting religious people who often put so much faith into God, but struggle to see that we must materially organize for revolution. I know Marcus Garvey and other revolutionaries were religious, though, so I know it happens, but sometimes it doesn't feel like that wall is up. I'd say, like, one, you're in it for the long run. Get to know these people first and foremost. Like, you can't just be an outside presence and then tell people to act against their God. Like, it just will backfire in that kind of way. And that's really not what we're looking to do as revolutionaries. I'd say, like, start attending service. Start to get to know, like, these religious folks within your community and find out what problems are they, having in their life. Is that it's not so much about fancy words or trying to convince people. It's about showing them an alternative. And so, like, say you got a bunch of religious folks and, they're all suffering with, like, lead contaminated water. Organize around that. Mm-hmm. Show them what collective power looks like and how it is compatible with the religion. That, like, organizing your people has absolutely nothing to do with your individual religious or spiritual belief. Is that, yes, if you as a religious person can organize a whole bunch of people in your community to, make sure y'all get new pipes for your water or a new water system, that's showing people collective power. That's more revolutionary than just, throwing them some words and trying to change their mind. Is that this is a material thing that you've provided to prove what you're talking about. And it doesn't necessarily, like, contradict with what, the teachings of, their God or their religion. It doesn't conflict in that way. And I feel like that's definitely, like, the place to start. Get to know these people, like, genuinely, be a presence within their community and help them organize around the things that are, troubling their lives. Is that, that's all most people could ask for. And, for a lot of colonized people, that's enough for them to believe what you're talking about isn't BS. Mm-hmm. So I guess that'd be the advice I'd give.
Yeah, no, I love that advice too. And, like, even for the Christian crowd, like, you could, Jesus was a revolutionary. You could say it like that, right? Like, right? Like, working against the Romans and white power, right? So it's like, hey, like, you could also, like, bring it that way. If because the young lords, how they say this in this chapter, they said that they were Bible scholars because they were raised to be Bible scholars. They like literally have been hearing quotes and scripture for their whole lives. So they're like, we know this. So, if you do have that knowledge, think about how you can use that to really, like, tell people, like, hey, like, this scripture actually relates to principle of unity number 2 or principle of unity number 4.
Community right now. Yeah. And, like, take that knowledge and apply it in a revolutionary way. Is that, like, yeah, you're right. Jesus was like a full ass revolutionary, fighting against, like, a state and, like, helped criminals, quote, prostitutes, people who were diseased and spent their time around them and organized them. And, like, that's something that, we can definitely take back in a revolutionary way, even if you yourself aren't revolutionary. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, Lay. You want to read this one up too?
Okay, I'm going to read because it gets cut off a little bit. It says, we read everybody. We read Nat Turner, Frederick Douglass, Betances and Campos, Puerto Rican revolutionaries. Puerto Ricans have had a long history of revolution. They fought against Spain, and now they're fighting against the U.S. I hate somebody that makes the same mistake twice, especially when there's no reason for it, because people wrote the earlier ones down. Yet, if you don't take any shortcuts with things so rough already, you're in bad shape. So I'm trying to find this book. So we read some Mao, Marx, Lenin. We don't let that govern us. We put them up as God. They're revolutionaries just as we are, and I respect them for that. But we're going to have to do something a little different. That's why they in turn respect us. Yeah, this was from the interview with Yoruba Guzman, and yeah, I mean, like, this gets to why we have the book trap, right? Like, this is why we have the book trap. We are reading, right, the revolutionaries of the past, colonized revolutionaries of the past, especially, so that we can learn from them, right, and not make the same mistakes. We can hold people up as heroes. We can hold up Fred Hampton as a hero. We can hold up Fidel Castro as a hero. We can hold people up as heroes, but we always have to actually look at what they've done and learn if those things that they've done were right or wrong and what mistakes happened, especially materially, right? Not just ideologically, but materially, what did some of the decisions they make result in? And I think an example that goes right back to the Young Lords was how the Young Lords were fine with working with like poor white people, right? And like how that teaching also stemmed out of Fred Hampton. Like Fred Hampton was fine with that too, right? But we can learn from that, and we have learned from that, and we learned that that's not necessarily the route we need to go because we are true leadership. We are the true proletariat, right? Mm-hmm. And we have to work as the true proletariat because it is not in their material interest to overturn colonialism. And if it is in their interest, if they want to overturn colonialism, then they have to fall under our leadership, and that they can't necessarily be leaders beside us. They have to fall under our leadership because it's our issue. It's our contradiction.
Exactly. And like on that, we got a colonizer class for any of the colonizers watching. We do have like a re-education class. Like if you're tired of genocide and colonialism, rape and pillaging done in your name over the last 600 years, we do have a class for you to understand how to overturn that contradiction, that enormous contradiction, and set you on a trajectory to overturn it and fall under our leadership directly. Yeah. And so this is from one of our colonizer students. So yeah, like the information is down below. It's $25 per class session. It's a 2-hour weekly class, a re-education program to be specific. So every Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so want to sign up? Well, there's still spots. We got dozens and dozens of people interested in doing it. The revolutionary teachers that are in there are absolutely amazing. So please sign up, share with your other colonizer friends, and like really politicize the importance of this. Is that if you really want our leadership, you got to hand over reparations. Like that is an absolute. Sit with that, digest it, send this link, send this post to all of your colonizer friends, and get them in. Get them on the right side of the question.
Exactly.
And also,
go ahead.
Sorry, one other thing. We got Storm of White Tears with Commander-in-Chief Ghazi at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a watch party about that and supporting our Commander-in-Chief debate this nationalist, this white nationalist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going down today. So yes, keep that in mind. Our members watching, and for like Uncle was saying, for the colonizers, go to tinyurl.com/reparations class to sign up for that class and bring other colonizer friends, other white friends you got that should be paying reparations and want to learn about this, right? Mm-hmm. And for everyone else watching the book trap, we had 2 more chapters. Our final book trap is next Sunday for the Young Lords reader, right? Not final in general, final for this book. So we're going to read chapters 11 and 12, the final 2 chapters. This is going to be the last book chapter for this book. So bring everyone that you can into it. Make this the big one. Bring all your friends. Bring everybody up into this book trap so that we can learn together and finally summarize what the Young Lords meant to us and what they mean to us as revolutionaries in Black Hammer. All right. So yeah, one more with me, and we'll see. We'll see who the co-host is. But I want to thank you, Secretary General Anko, for co-hosting today. They are a very busy person, and so it was really great to have you on today as my co-host.
Yeah, no, I was super excited to be on, y'all. This is my first book trap. Expect to see me back. I believe in this. I love doing this. Thank you for having me on, Chief Oju.
Yeah, no problem. And for all y'all, thank you. We surpassed our goal, and we'll see you next Sunday for the book trap, 11 a.m. Eastern. Final one, share it with your friends. All right.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Land back.